headlines. Thank you for joining us here in the newsroom. I'm Molly Hall. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to deliver a speech on Islam. He'll speak in front of dozens of Muslim leaders at the Arab Islamic American Summit in Riyadh. Trump frequently lashed out at Muslims on the campaign trail last year, and as president, he's tried to ban many from the United States. Our Julia Seeger has more on Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, the first stop of his first overseas trip as president.
Joining in to a traditional sword dance, Donald Trump received a red carpet royal welcome in Saudi Arabia, his first stop abroad as president. And just hours after touching down in Riyadh, the president announced a $110 billion arms deal with the Saudi kingdom, as well as more than $380 billion worth of business deals.
It was a tremendous day. I just want to thank everybody, but tremendous investments into the United States, and our military community is very happy, and we want to thank you and Saudi Arabia. But hundreds of billions of dollars of investments into the United States, and jobs, jobs, jobs.
The aim of these deals is also to send a strong message to Iran, where Hassan Rouhani has just won re-election. Both the U.S. and Saudi Arabia see Iran as a common enemy. They're opposed in a range of regional conflicts, including in Syria and Yemen. And as confirmed by the U.S. Secretary of State, Donald Trump is expected to take a tougher stance on Tehran than his predecessor, Barack Obama.
The package of defense equipment and services supports the long-term security of Saudi Arabia and the entire Gulf region, in particular in the face of malign Iranian influence and Iranian-related threats, which exist on Saudi Arabia's borders on all sides.
Donald Trump is set to deliver a speech to dozens of Muslim leaders on Sunday, an address that's been touted as a major event along the lines of a landmark address to the Islamic world given by Obama in Cairo in 2009.
Now, for more on this, we can speak with Mohammed al-Sabani. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Firstly, I'd like to ask you, we're expecting to hear from the U.S. President in the coming hours. He will make a speech. What is it that you want to hear from the leader?
Thank you for inviting me to speak here. I think the speech by President Trump to the Islamic world that the United States is not against Islam. It is against terrorists, and they are everywhere in any religion, and that we need together to combat the terrorism, whether Muslims or other religion, so in order to have a safe world. This is the main point. The second point is, I think there will be some more strong cooperation between the United States and the Islamic world. Most of them who are poor, not poor country, but poor to middle class countries. So they need an assistance from the developed countries in order to progress in their economic development. And I think if we join together, we can be able to fight ISIS, we fight terrorism all over the world, and there will be a strong cooperation and strong relationship between the United States and the Islamic world.
You mentioned that you would like to hear the president speak about the fight against terrorism. Of course, we have heard the president use strong anti-Islamic rhetoric. That was during the campaign, the presidential campaign. And as president, he has tried to ban some Muslims simply from where they were born, that from entering the United States. Do you find it was fitting for Saudi Arabia to give the president such a warm welcome, considering all of this?
Well, I think the President Trump has somehow changed his mind with regard to the Islam. I think he's distinguishing between Islam as a religion and most of the Muslims around the world, and those few terrorism, whether under Islam or under any other under any other religion. So I think by now it is a much better situation, better understanding, and I think it will lead to more cooperation, and definitely in the coming months and years until his period, whether it is 4 years or 8-year presidency, we will see better relationship between Muslim countries and the United States. And of course, the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States is very strong. It is not of today's one, but it goes back to many decades, since the 30 of the last century. It started with the cooperation in the discovery and exploration of oil through the 4 oil companies, and also it went to the mutual cooperation, multilateral investment, whether in the United States or in Saudi Arabia. And plus, of course, we have more than 80,000 Saudi students studying in the U.S. So it is not a casual relationship. It is very strong, very deep, and definitely it has passed through different bumpy roads, but it is okay now.
Well, I would like to ask you, of course, again, you mentioned even the 80,000 students who are studying in the United States, and we've seen President Trump insist on this travel ban against Muslims in certain countries. Of course, it's been tied up in courts, not just once, but twice. That being said, is this the U.S. president to reboot ties?
Well, I think, as I told you, things are changing, and there is better understanding on the part of President Trump. If you have seen him last night dancing in the Arda, in Saudi Arda, you'll see how much closer he is getting to the, not to the dancing, but to the Islamic world and to Saudis. And I think this area is much better in dealing with the United States than the previous administration. And I think we will reap the benefits of a strong relationship between the two. In particular, that we have been united against the intervention of Iran in the region, against the problems that they are creating in the region. And I think that by itself shows that President Trump distinguished between Muslim countries and those who are belonging to ISIS.
Well, indeed, actually, for the moment, we've had U.S. courts saying that this it does not distinguish for the moment in terms of discrimination based on religion, because indeed it's not based on any proof if anyone has any ties to any terrorist group. Of course, we have seen so far in this trip hundreds of billions of dollars in trade deals that were signed, including an arms deal worth over $100 billion. That particular deal, we've seen it was held back by the Obama administration. You mentioned then this administration moving forward towards the kingdom. What about human rights? Is this being discussed at all during this time?
I don't think this is an important issue. It is not of high priority in his agenda, and I don't think it has been discussed. But overall, I think we are benefiting from signing such economic agreements, in particular the agreement that will help us in diversifying our economy. You know that Saudi Arabia is heavily dependent on the exportation of oil. 90% of government revenue is coming from oil. Now we are, through the Vision 2030, are trying to diversify, trying to develop minerals, energy, tourism, etc. So I think if you have followed the agreements that we have signed, you see that there is a diversity of the agreement, from General Electric to the arm manufacturing to several areas. Even Citibank has been allowed to work in Saudi Arabia, among others. So it is a kind of diversification that we needed, and we thank the United States for helping. Of course, it is not for free, but even though they could have gone to other countries, but recognizing the importance of Saudi Arabia, recognize its importance in the oil market, even though the United States is trying to achieve independency in that area. However, it will take a long time. So in the meantime, they will rely heavily on oil producers, and in particular Saudi Arabia, who is leading the oil market among OPEC countries. There are more serious issues that he has been discussing with the Saudi government and with the GCC government. And I think this trip, I can consider it as a historic trip and very successful trip to the region. And to start with Saudi Arabia is a full recognition of its importance, not only as the center of Islam, but also its geographical location, its oil wealth, etc. So we really appreciate bringing this together and bring us together with the United States on this ground.
Mohammed Al-Saban, once again, you're a senior.
Thank you.